What high performers do differently at 40 plus. By the time people reach their 40s, the gap between high performers and everyone else begins to widen dramatically. This divergence is not primarily about talent, intelligence, or even opportunity. Instead, it comes down to how individuals adapt to biological reality. At 40 and beyond, the rules change. Recovery slows, muscle mass naturally declines, hormonal environments shift, and cognitive stress accumulates. High performers are not those who ignore these changes. They are the ones who respond intelligently to them. Rather than trying to live like they are still 25, they redesign how they train, work, eat, sleep, and think. What follows are the core principles that distinguish high performers after 40. Not just in business or sport, but in health, clarity, energy, and longevity. 1. They optimize for longevity, not just output. In their 20s and 30s, many people equate performance with intensity. Longer hours, harder workouts, more pressure. After 40, high performers shift their focus from short-term output to long-term capacity. They ask different questions. Will this habit still serve me in 10 years? Does this decision increase or decrease my resilience? Am I building capacity or just burning fuel? This shift matters because physical and cognitive decline is not abrupt. It is gradual and cumulative. High performers understand that protecting muscle mass, cardiovascular fitness, and brain function is not optional. These are the foundations that make all other forms of performance possible. 2. They prioritize strength as a non-negotiable. One of the most consistent markers of high performers over 40 is a commitment to resistance training. This is not about aesthetics. It is about survival and function. Muscle mass and strength are among the strongest predictors of lifespan. Individuals in the strongest third of the population are dramatically less likely to die from heart disease, cancer complications, and neurodegenerative decline. Strength protects against falls, preserves independence, and improves metabolic health. High performers understand something critical. You don't maintain muscle after 40, you fight for it. They lift weights or perform meaningful resistance work multiple times per week, focusing on progressive overload. Full body movement patterns, adequate recovery. They train to stay strong enough to live well, not just to look fit. 3. They train the heart without destroying the body. Endurance training remains essential after 40, but high performers are selective about how they do it. Instead of excessive long-duration cardio that increases injury risk and recovery burden, they use low-intensity aerobic work, walking, cycling, Zone 2 training. Short bursts of high-intensity effort intervals or sprints. This combination maintains cardiovascular fitness, mitochondrial health, and brain function without chronic fatigue. High performers understand that endurance exercise is not about punishment. It is about cardiovascular efficiency and mental clarity. 4. They respect recovery as a performance tool. After 40, recovery becomes a strategic advantage. High performers no longer see rest as weakness or laziness. They see it as an input into performance. They optimize sleep consistency over sleep quantity, active recovery instead of complete inactivity. training frequency, rather than constant intensity. They also recognize early warning signs, persistent soreness, irritability, declining motivation, and adjust before injury or burnout occurs. This ability to modulate effort is one of the clearest distinctions between high performers and those who flame out. 5. They eat to support muscle, brain, and energy. Nutrition shifts dramatically after 40 for high performers. Instead of eating reactively or emotionally, they eat strategically. Key principles include adequate protein intake to preserve muscle mass, nutrient timing around training to enhance adaptation, avoiding excessive alcohol due to its negative impact on muscle growth and sleep. They understand that food is not just fuel, it is information. What they eat influences hormone signaling, inflammation, cognitive function, and recovery capacity. High performers also recognize that metabolism becomes less forgiving with age. They do not rely on willpower. They design environments and routines that support consistent, high-quality nutrition. 6. They protect cognitive performance as aggressively as physical health. After 40, brain performance becomes a limiting factor for many people. High performers treat cognitive health as a trainable system. They actively support brain function through cardiovascular fitness, a strong predictor of cognitive performance, strength training linked to reduced dementia risk, learning new skills to maintain neuroplasticity. They also manage mental overload by reducing unnecessary decisions, structuring deep work, and protecting attention. High performers know that clarity is a competitive advantage, and they guard it ruthlessly. High performance after 40 is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters most. Strength training replaces ego training. Recovery replaces grind culture. Consistency replaces intensity. Longevity replaces short-term wins. The people who thrive beyond 40 are not superhuman. They are simply better aligned with reality. And that alignment, physical, cognitive, and behavioral, is what allows them to perform at a high level while everyone else slowly fades. In the second half of life, the advantage belongs not to the reckless, but to the prepared.